Setting goals has been such an important part of achieving as much as I have in my life, and I truly believe that setting goals is the number one reason I am so successful. I come by goal setting in much the same way that a natural born athlete takes to running or swimming. They just do it. There is no thought to it. It just kind of happens. Setting goals is just built into my DNA. But also, like an athlete, training and practice have really helped me hone my skills. If I had to guess, I probably set my first goal around the tender age of 4. And knowing me, it probably went something like this.
I will become queen of the world, and everyone will do everything that I tell them to do.
Obviously, as I've grown up, my goals have grown up as well. I no longer want to be queen of the world. Okay, I'm going to admit, I actually do want to be queen of the world, but I also still want people to do what I tell them to do. So I guess part of my 4-year-old dream is still alive and applies very much so today. But mostly it applies to Mauricio and Melina and me wanting them to do what I tell them to do. I try and keep the bossy 4-year-old in me confined to the 4 walls of our home because trust me when I tell you, no one wants to meet that 4-year-old. Hi, I'm Wendy Valencia. Before I tackle my goals and the way I write them down, you need to understand my to-do list and how they impact my motivation. For as long as I can remember, I have kept a to-do list, or should I say multiple to-do lists. I'm not even exaggerating when I say that I have to-do lists that prioritize my to-do lists. My to-do lists keep me on track and focused. I always know what needs to be done, and I can prioritize the things that need to be accomplished each day just by looking at the list. So at work, my to-do list is in a beautiful Erin Condren spiral notebook with pretty blue swirls on the front, and at home I keep my to-do list in Cozy. And if you're unfamiliar, Cozy is the family calendar app that Mauricio and I use to manage our lives, which I have mentioned about 10 million times on this channel. If you want to check out Cozy, I'll link it down in the description box. And trust me when I tell you that our lives always need some serious managing. The reason I keep 2 different and very distinct to-do lists is because of the nature of my job. I'm in federal law enforcement, in case you didn't already know, and my work list can't really be accessible on electronics. But honestly, a to-do list for work is really not that big of a deal because I always have a handwritten one at work. I'm just used to doing it that way, so it works out for me. I add to both lists constantly. I cross things off, I rewrite them. The Cozy list is a conglomerate of multiple lists, long-term, short-term lists. There are to-do lists for me, to-do lists for Mauricio. I have things prioritized by what needs to be done today, what needs to be done next week, and what can wait. Beyonce was wrong when she said girls rule the world. Lists are what rule the world. Well, my world, at least. My to-do lists are written in bullet form commands, little mini dots that scream at me constantly. Pay attention, I must be dealt with. They almost mock me. Hey, you over there, you haven't taken care of me yet. They kind of taunt me. Wipe down the baseboards, organize Melina's shoes, clean the shower. I need to be crossed off. Stop scrolling Instagram and get back to work. But honestly, the screaming lists keep me focused and on track. And when I have time, I just look at the list and bam, something new to do. I'm most certainly never bored. Although I will freely admit there are times I wish I could ignore my bellowing lists and just kind of chill, but that's actually pretty rare. In fact, I'm pretty sure the last time I sat down was about 8 years ago when I was pregnant with Melina and way too whale-like to move around at any sort of rapid pace. So while these to-do lists keep me organized and headed toward accomplishing small tasks or maybe a larger task that has been broken down into bite-sized pieces, the most rewarding part of maintaining a to-do list is actually checking off an item. Standing back and seeing how many items have been crossed off. And honestly, I can say that there is a little bit inside me that feels prouder when I know it's time to start a new to-do list, because that means that I've crossed off like 75% of the things on my to-do list and the whole thing's starting to look messy. So if you really sit down and think about it, goals are just a lofty to-do list, aren't they? a list of things you need to achieve to reach a place you really want to go. But for me, to-do lists and goals are very, very different. Goals are an image of me being my best self. Goals are what I will inevitably become because I know when I write down a goal, it will be realized. Maybe not in the time period that I've decided it should happen in, but it'll happen eventually. I just don't make goals that I won't achieve anymore. I just don't do it, which is a little frightening because some of the goals I have written down right now are kind of huge, gigantic goals actually, and I'm not gonna lie, there might have been actual heart palpitations when I wrote some of those goals down, especially the goals for this business. For me, where to-do lists and goals differ is that I cannot say that I'm always achieving what I set out to achieve is true for my to-do list. I will freely admit that I have had call CVS and merge bonus points account on my to-do list for about 4 years. It should be done eventually, but it's a task that involves getting 4 people in the same room to have a conversation with CVS, and it's just not seeming to ever happen. So it continues to roll over to the next to-do list. So then if goals and to-do lists are actually different, how do I go about making sure my brain knows they're different? Because that's super important. This simple thought actually took me years to realize. When I finally realized it came this way. If I write my to-do list and my goals in the exact same way, with that screaming, angry, bossy bullet points, haven't I just told my brain that a goal is something that I don't necessarily have to do? Once I realized that, I started writing my goals down in complete sentences. Gone were the bullet points and in stepped the kinder, gentler goals. My new goals read something like this. I want to lose 70 pounds by the end of 2019, and I want to create a website by September 2019. They were SMART goals for sure. So if you don't know what SMART goals are, I did a whole video on that one and I'll link it in the description box. For years, I wrote goals using this method. But last year I thought to myself, you know what else I want? I want a vacation. I want a Tesla. I want a margarita. And I have lots of wants in my life. And not all of them are going to happen for me, especially not the margarita, because that's way too much sugar and salt for the diet I'm on right now. So writing down my goals as wants really wasn't a good idea either, because I was basically telling my brain, hey brain, these are some things that you can do if you want, but you really don't have to. And that is when I had an epiphany. What if I write goals as things I have done already, things I've already accomplished? Wouldn't it be telling my brain that not only were my goals achievable, but that I had actually already done them? And I reveled in my brilliance, and I told friends, and I told family, and I told coworkers, and I loved my new method, and it really seemed to be working. And then one day I heard Rachel Hollis talk about the way she writes her goals and how she does it in the past tense, and I was kind of deflated. My genius idea was actually already a thing, and if you know me at all, I have these brilliant ideas that apparently other people have as well, all the time. And I discovered it was actually a pretty big thing, and I discovered that tons of people did it this way. But even though it was already being done, it didn't take away from the effectiveness. So I continued to write my goals this way, and I never looked back because let me tell you, it actually does work. So let me give you an example of some goals I have for this year and the way they are currently written. I've lost 60 pounds. We've saved $30,000 toward a down payment on the house. I posted on Instagram every day. Since I don't want to let myself down, I actually am following through with these goals and being really successful about it. I mean, we've already saved money for the down payment on the house, and I've already lost 30 pounds, and I've posted on Instagram every single day. So I'll see you in the next one. See ya. We're out.